that inner vow I made that I would never be a priest, God was going to turn that around. And I think a lot of times in our lives is the very thing that we don't think God can do or that we
Mm,
want God to do is the
mm-hmm,
very thing that he does as proof of his healing power.
mm-hmm.
Because I think in our brokenness is our strength.
In this episode of Powered by People, I sit down with Anthony Doze, the lead pastor at Bethany Church, a storyteller, and a passionate advocate for curiosity, community, and grace. From his unexpected journey into ministry to the ripple effects of refugee outreach, Anthony brings warmth, wisdom, and a few surprises. I really enjoyed this conversation, and I'm looking forward to sharing it with you. So let's dive in. Anthony, thanks for joining me today.
It's
I'm
great,
ex-
Wendy, to be here.
I'm
I'm looking
excited.
forward to this.
Yeah,
Yes.
me too. I actually want to start by going way back, maybe not to the day of your birth or anything like that, but I want to know, where did you grow up?
So I was born at a very young age. I'll start off right there.
Very young, like zero.
Yeah, it was Woodstock, Ontario. Farm kid, raised on an apple farm, Appledale orchard. Potatoes, apples, cabbage, onions. Yeah,
Mhm.
it was great. And
Yeah.
it's just outside the town of Woodstock.
Hmm.
And great memories, great childhood experience. Had four brothers. It was
Okay,
wild.
four. I was
Four
trying to
brothers.
remember. I knew you had at least a couple, but
Yeah.
okay.
And whatever we didn't blow up, we actually enjoyed life a lot. So it was
Mm,
a good upbringing, great parents.
yeah. Now, I suspect that developed a strong work ethic. Would you say that's true of you?
Oh yeah, I think I was driving tractor. Like I was driving. I don't know if it was allowed, legal, whatever. I think 10 years old, I was already in the harvest fields,
Mm.
driving tractor and working hard. And every
Hmm.
Saturday, I remember my dad yelling up the stairs. Feels like I still hear him yelling up the stairs of my soul once in a while, but he would yell up, "Boys, get down here!" And just crack of dawn and then out the door. Especially at harvest time, there was no data to waste during the harvest. But it
Hmm.
was great. I mean, lots of fun. A lot of people working on the farm, meeting lots of people. A lot of my friends actually from school wanted part-time jobs,
Oh,
and they
okay.
knew they
Yeah.
could make good little money working and particularly picking potatoes, and that was great. So,
Hmm.
mhm.
Do you have any favorite stories you like to tell from those years?
Well, I did write a book on some of those stories, as you
Okay.
probably know, and so I've put a few in there that were probably too long for this conversation.
Hmm.
But there's good and bad and ugly stories
Mm.
about my childhood. Some of the great stories I think would be around harvest and just all about the enjoyment of all us cousins. I had 75 cousins, so many families, so many people would come to the farm. My grandparents lived on the farm with us in part of the
Mm.
house. And
Hmm.
so I would always see my uncles and aunts and all my relatives. So I think the highlight would be all the family that gathered around us
Hmm.
often. Like they'd just show
Hmm.
up. And my mom sometimes would look at the number of shoes at the door and figure out how much breakfast she'd have to make that day because you never knew how many people would be
Okay.
staying over. It was great.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful sense of community. Um,
Absolutely.
Remind me your birth order. Where are you in all
So I'm
those
the
boys?
oldest of five,
Okay,
and
the
then
oldest.
brother Kevin was 2 years younger. We were all kind
Hmm.
of in space, but the youngest brother Mark was 13 years difference from me. So I was
Okay, so he's he was a pleasant surprise.
he was the baby of the family.
Yeah,
He's the
yeah.
smartest, by the way. He's a robotics designer, and he played Lego. He'd come home from school, even in high school, he'd be building Lego and stuff. And we thought, Mark, we were out in the fields working, and he's playing with Lego. But he was the
Mm.
smartest, and now the richest because of all the great work that he does. So
Well, that's fantastic.
I know.
So when you weren't, fighting with your brothers or, doing chores or that sort of thing, what were you drawn to? So your little brother loved Lego. What were you interested in back then?
Oh boy, that's a tough question to answer. I think I'm a well, they would say generally I liked a lot of things. I was a Boy
Same.
Scout, loved
Okay.
being a Boy Scout. That was
Hmm.
great. This is an interesting question as you're asking because so much of my childhood were great memories, and so it's hard to really pick and choose. I think just being with my brothers, we
Hmm.
had motorbikes, we built our own go karts, we when the fields no longer had produce in it, we would take tractors and build tracks, and we would
Yeah,
race our
yeah.
stuff, and people would come over, and so there's a lot of that great stuff going on. Love to bike, but I think at Boy Scouts, if I'm going to go back to think about what I love doing the most,
Mm-hmm.
I love the nature, the hikes,
Mm-hmm.
the wilderness, winter camping, even in snow caves, and I mean
Mm-hmm.
that was pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. And are some of those passions still alive and well today?
Oh, I don't know if I could say that at all. I mean, I used to surf and skateboard and
Mm.
snowboard and all those things too, but
Mm-hmm.
I broke my ribs last time I skateboarded, fell and cracked two ribs, and my sons at that time said, "Dad, you're too old for this stuff." So anything with a board that has a hard surface you land on is gone. I'd probably
Mm-hmm.
still try surfing, although I don't live near the water where I would try surfing anymore. But I think that would be the thing I would continue. I loved snowboarding for many years, but
Okay. Still
yeah,
love the outdoors, nature, hiking,
I
those sorts of
do.
things?
Yeah, winter
Yeah.
not so much anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Give me
Right?
give me sunny Florida. Give me the Caribbean, something that would be nice.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think you enjoy that too. I think you and Kevin
Oh,
both love
yeah.
the sun.
Yes, he gets to enjoy it at this stage a lot more than I do.
I know, I know. I see
Yes,
him on his world tour, and I go, "What is going on? Why doesn't
yes.
he need a groupie or a
I
some
know.
kind of
I know. I'm still
road
trying to
crew?"
figure out how to make real estate a little bit more virtual. Have virtually do walkthroughs of
Probably going to
houses.
get
I don't
there one
know.
day.
It'll
Probably.
get there. I'm working
Yeah.
on it. Yeah. Send a hologram of me, with the clients through the house or something.
Have you ever seen a hologram work live? Did you see the YouTube? Bono's the lead singer.
Okay.
He hologrammed into a conference once. Did you see that?
No.
That's
No.
absolutely. It was much of a likeness of him. I'm still glitchy,
Mm-hmm.
but it's
Yeah.
like, oh, it's the future is here. I'm
See?
waiting for my
He found the
rocket.
solution.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Do you remember what you wanted to be? Like when you were a young boy and you thought about the future, did you have any
Wanted to be a
aspirations?
fighter pilot. I
Okay.
did. I
Yeah,
have
where
some
did that
cousins
come
that
from?
became. I don't know. I have some cousins who became pilots, which was kind of cool. But a
Hmm.
fighter pilot, I think fireman. I think I don't just try a cop. I have two brothers who are cops now, so
Hmm.
they kind of took that. Yeah, I don't know. Definitely did not want to be in being a pastor in a ministry. In fact, I made a
Hmm.
inner vow when I was young. In fact, one of the stories in my book is kind
Uh-huh.
of the tragic story where I was actually blamed for the death of one of my friends in a tragic situation on one of the farms,
Hmm.
and it was pretty devastating. I was only 10 at the
Hmm.
time, pretty devastating.
Wow.
And then nobody knew what to do with us boys who witnessed this. It was pretty brutal,
Hmm.
and they sent priest to the house on the farm to kind of like help us. I don't know, and it was like Charlie Brown's teacher. Wah 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 wah.
Hmm.
Nothing was resonating, and it felt worse after the religious person talked to us about, to be honest with you, making us feel guilty for feeling bad. That was
Hmm.
like
Hmm.
the worst approach in my mind. I don't know. I don't blame him particularly, the specific priest, because I think that's all he knew what to do.
Hmm.
But I made an inner vow, says I will never, and it was irrelevant to me. He did not know. I will never be a priest. So we were raised Catholic, and so that was the
Okay.
kind of my
Hmm.
worldview at the time. And then here I am, all those years later. I'm a pastor. I'm a minister. I was like, what in
Hmm.
the world? God's got a sense of humor, but He knows how to heal the
Hmm.
heart, knows how to turn our lives around,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
pull us forward in that. So that's kind of an interesting take to my
Yeah.
story.
I suspect that having that negative experience has shaped then a bit who you are in your role as a pastor, kind of sometimes what not to do. Is
Yeah,
that
no, I
fair?
think that's very true. No, that's a great question, Wendy. I have reflected on this before. I think somebody's asked me once why I don't preach hellfire and brimstone
Mm-hmm.
and damnation, and
Mm-hmm.
I think people go through enough hell day to day that they
Okay.
don't need to be reminded when they come to church
Mm-hmm.
on Sunday. And I heard a great pastor one time, Jack Hayford, when I went to when I was just starting in ministry, and he says, "Your number one job is to lift the people."
Mm,
and not condemn them. And I remember that. I was like, wow, you know what? That's so true because people feel already condemned. They don't need to be
mm,
reminded of how rotten they are, how, filthy sinner they are, or whatever. None of that stuff works. In fact,
mm-hmm.
guilt is a terrible motivator.
I agree. Mm-hmm.
And so, what people need is to understand how loved they are, that they are beloved, and to know that God really cares about everything that they're going through and that He wants to heal them and lead them and help them. Because life's pretty messy. Life's got a lot of, I've been through a few things, and like most people,
Mm-hmm.
pretty traumatic at times. And you got to realize that you need God to be a rescue, to be a rock, to be a help to you.
Mm-hmm.
And if I can be that, I think that formed some of those ways to encourage people, to lift people, to help them see the God that really loves them, and no matter how they feel about themselves or how they feel about God. And I think that's always kind of like shaped and framed, how I approach things in ministry and how
Mm-hmm.
I actually will speak on a Sunday, bringing a message. Because I know there's people coming from all walks of life who might be listening and online, which is an interesting thing since COVID, how
Mm-hmm.
we've got this whole other community that's following us online. Which the majority of those people I've never met before. I don't know if I'll ever meet them. It's kind of
Wow. So
interesting.
a lot of people have stayed
Yeah,
virtual. Okay.
yeah,
Not, is there a lot of hybrid or any hybrid like that
yeah. I
sometimes?
think so. Some people that do mention that they
Okay.
come
Mm-hmm.
and visit, but I don't know what's happened. In fact,
Mm.
COVID, when I started this church, March 2020,
Mm-hmm.
when COVID started, I started, and so
Ah,
I had to
okay.
go instantly virtual
Wow.
into a brand new church that I have never met anybody before, other than
Mm.
the meet and greet when we first were, they're trying to figure out if I'm going to be the pastor of the church,
Mm-hmm.
which was a couple months before. But
Yeah.
Sunday after Sunday, there was nobody in the building, which was,
Weird.
it
Yes.
was really weird for
Yeah.
months, but
Mm-hmm.
it was a gift for me
Mm.
because I didn't have to see the frowns. I didn't get any criticism. It was like I was on a honeymoon period for a long time because I got no
Mm-hmm.
feedback, no flack, no,
Yep.
thumbs
Mm-hmm.
down or the
Right.
scowling
Right.
faces.
Yeah.
And then I got a chance to build into our congregation because the church was a hurting church, to build a foundation of grace and love. That God really loves us, and to talk about what really grace is. Grace is not just to get you into heaven, but grace is how our lives are shaped and formed continually, even after we become Christian. And so, that really was a strange gift, as awful as that season was. I got to be able to lay a foundation of goodness. I'll put it that way, that God is good, and just build from there. So, and
Mm.
now things are awesome. We got a lot of fun things happening now, which
Yeah.
is
And I want to get to lots of that. In the meantime, help fill in the gap, the journey from, 10-year-old boy, I never want to be this, to ending up, pastoring. And this isn't your first pastoral role, that you've been in a few places. So tell us a little bit about the journey between
yeah.
there
So
and there.
so raised Catholic, but no real faith. So it wasn't until I actually, and if you've heard of this guy before, his name is Benny Hinn, and he's a
Mm-hmm.
televangelist, and
Mm-hmm.
everybody, they make fun of him. But I was at one of these events where he was speaking. This is before Benny Hinn was Benny Hinn, before he had the weird hair, before he had those white glowing suits, and he was just Benny Hinn back then. And so my brother and I, we listened. My parents had become Christian, and we listened to this guy, and it's like, and something happened in my heart. It's like I responded, and there was a moment there when I was 16 where I said, "Oh man, if God is real, I want Him to show Himself to me." So that's kind of where the real journey of faith began. Prior to that, we were just wild boys. I'll just say that. Keep it, PG here.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But the reality was, uh, God, God did a lot of work in my
Mm-hmm.
life, and so the reality was, then I really felt almost immediately. I had, I don't know who's listening or watching, and this might seem outrageous to some people, but I had a vision. I was at this youth retreat, so I was 16. I joined this youth group, and I had this almost like out of body experience. I wasn't on drugs, although there were some friends on that retreat that were trying to smoke me up. I swear I did not.
Yeah. Okay.
They were there, but I had an encounter with a very spiritual experience
Hmm.
where I had these words tumble in front of me, and it spelled out the word youth, youth, almost like those building blocks. You know, those little kids when they
Yeah.
have the
Yeah.
letters
Yeah.
on the
Yeah.
blocks, and it
Mm-hmm.
was like that kind of tumbling in front of me, and I didn't know what to make of it. And I thought it was just like God recognizing I was a young person, I was a youth, but
Mm-hmm.
it was the seed for a calling to work with young people, and that's what happened. I ended up working at Circle Square Ranch about a year later after that, and that's mostly with kids, with horseback, just an incredible opportunity. I was there for 5 years. And I remember the impact that those situations and those camps created for kids to really kind of connect with God. And it's like, okay, this is amazing. I almost got addicted to the joy of
Mm.
watching all these young people connect with
Mm.
God. And it was a
Mm-hmm.
like it might, for some people that are listening, they go, "What? Connect with God? That doesn't. I don't know. We even know what
Mm.
that means."
Sure.
But
Yeah.
and then from there, I really felt that I wanted to continue in that kind of work. Became full time at Circle Square,
Mm-hmm.
working year round. Most of it was horse riding and sleigh rides with draft
Fun.
horses and things like that.
Yeah.
It was
Mm-hmm.
great.
Yeah.
And then I did a newsletter and sent out to the kids that went to the summer camp, and I just kept in touch with them with follow up, which was really a great experience. Not religious, so to me it wasn't like I was a priest or a pastor. But
Mm.
then
Mm-hmm.
things started shifting where I felt that I needed to go to a Bible school. Went to Florida, yay!
Mm-hmm. Yay.
Yeah, my one of my courses included surfing and beach ministry, so
Mm. Not bad.
that
Yeah.
was fantastic near Bradenton. Loved that area. And then was wondering I was going to go back to the ranch, but then doors opened, Natureland Bible Camp, a few other places that began to knock on my door and ask if I'd be interested to work there and
Mm-hmm.
try those experiences. Problem is, none of those places paid. So
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
it was like I
Mm-hmm.
got $20 a week, and I spent that on the junk food in the snack shop. Like
Sure.
I had a
Yeah.
tab that I
Mm-hmm.
owed after the end of the week more
Yeah.
than I ever made.
It's
So
how they keep you employed.
I don't
You
know. It's like
can't leave because you have a bill.
yeah. So I got to find something to do with my. So went into construction. Friend at a construction company worked that actually built my dad's large storage, potato storage. Part of that company did that project. That was kind of fun working on the farm in construction, building houses. Made some money, and then from there, uh, didn't exactly know what would be next. But there was a church in Woodstock that. Oh, yeah, and I applied to be a police officer because I was telling you earlier I wanted to be a police officer. So I applied to become a cop, and in the process of that, a pastor from the hometown where I was from, Woodstock, called me and said, "Why are you going to become a police officer? I thought you were called to work with youth." And I went, "Oh yeah," but I told him I couldn't afford it, and cops will at least pay something, and I'm going to work in the
Mm-hmm.
youth bureau, and I kind of
Mm-hmm.
justified what my
Sure.
choices were. And they said, "Why don't you come back to your hometown and be the first youth director of this church?" And so that's where I went to the youth group, and now I'm being invited to be on staff there, which was amazing
Yeah.
beginning.
Yeah.
Then I got ordained, a few other, through Bible school and other things I had to do. And then I was in Woodstock for 5 years. I went to Toronto then after that too. So it's country boy, cowboy boots from the ranches, country boy, farm boy, apple potato boy. Then goes to Toronto, in a mega church, and my I remember my first youth meeting with the kids, and I'm wearing my cowboy boots. I'm really not fitting in that well with
Yeah.
this downtown Toronto crew,
Yeah.
and I remember some of those. That church had gone through a lot of brokenness in their youth ministry and stuff. There's only a handful of kids. I remember half of the kids turned their chairs backwards to the back wall so they wouldn't face me. And I went, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Hmm.
It was
Yeah.
just crazy experience.
Growth opportunities like crazy in those
Yeah, and it
situations.
did,
Yeah.
and it did, and we had great sports program, great committed volunteers. So 10, 11 years at Evangel in Toronto. Um, and I was involved with Team Mania. I was on the board for Team Mania, and that had hosted Acquire the Fires every year, and that was really awesome to be a part of. Very exciting working with youth. And then I got fired from that church. In fact, I got fired twice from that church. So, long story
Twice.
short,
Oh
yeah,
my.
I know
Mm-hmm.
I got fired, and the
Yeah.
first time they fired me, they said, "If you want to stay, you can." I went,
Okay.
"I have an option in this
Mm.
firing," and I decided to stay. But the writing was on the wall. I needed to be getting ready if something was gonna. And then a few months later, I got fired the second time. Uh, but it was actually really great because I wouldn't have left that. Our youth ministry had grown to like 200 to 300 kids, like young
Wow.
people,
Yeah, yeah.
doing amazing things, missions all over the world, humanitarian
Mm.
work. We took a tour across Canada from Newfoundland to British Columbia, 31 kids over 21 days in one stinky bus. And it was a coast to coast mission trip, so to speak,
Amazing.
working
Mm-hmm.
with youth ministries and
Mm-hmm.
different. That was pretty exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was back in '99, a while back now. I remember sharing that story, just like kind of chat with you now. But one
Mm-hmm.
time I told a story like, yeah, it was this really big deal. We did amazing things, and we had a band, we did a little about, and I felt the yawn of God. Are you?
No way.
Yeah, seriously, I like,
Uh-huh.
wow. Okay. So I'm not impressing God anymore if I keep repeating the story of what I had done. And it's just like, oh,
Mm.
wow. I kind of woke up to the fact that I was holding on to these great memories as opposed
Mm.
to what was going on
Yeah.
now. So it was a turning point in my life. And then ended up being a youth pastor at another church, which was downtown Toronto, right? And we saw an amazing thing with mostly college age University of Toronto. We were right on the campus of University of Toronto, and it
Hmm.
was fantastic to be a part of that experience. And then this church way up in Lindsay kept asking me to be a guest speaker, and then every time I go up to be a guest speaker at that church, because they were without a pastor for a few years, they kept asking me, would you like to be a pastor here?" And I'm like, no, not
No,
interested
I
at all.
don't.
I love what we're doing in Toronto. We're going to build
Mm.
a brand new building. We were building a soccer dome. And it was like there was a lot of really amazing things
Mm.
happening.
Mm-hmm.
And the
Mm-hmm.
last thing I wanted to do was be a pastor, a senior pastor. And it was like, I don't think I want to take a demotion. That's how I felt
Mm.
leaving youth to work with young people to be a lead senior pastor of a
Mm-hmm.
church. It did not
Mm-hmm.
feel like a promotion in my mind because I
Yep.
love working with young people.
Mm-hmm.
And I think some people still think I'm working with young people. And I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but nonetheless,
Mm-hmm.
we ended up going to Lindsay, Ontario for 13 years. And then now we're here in
Wow.
Kitchener
Okay. Mm-hmm.
for, well, it's been 4 years now, for going in the
Mm.
fifth year.
Mm. Okay, so in the
That's
13,
my long journey. Sorry it took so much
yeah,
time to
no,
explain.
no, no, please. So the 13 years was in a like a lead, a senior position.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So
Hmm.
when you came here, this is your second
Second, yeah,
uh church that you've had
yeah,
this
yeah,
role.
yeah.
First question, have
Sure.
you done a sermon or anything on Yawn of God? Because I love that title.
Yeah, no, I've weaved it into my, well, you know what? No, not specifically, but
Okay.
thank you. I'm
Because
going to write
I
that
think it would
down.
be like kind of captivating if I saw that phrase
Yeah,
or a version of that phrase. I would
I
be
just wrote
so
that down.
curious.
I just wrote that down.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll include that in a future.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah, I
maybe I'll write
really
about
like
that.
that because I thought you can really flesh that out into a powerful message, I think.
Yeah, that might be a
So,
chapter in a future book. I don't know.
mm,
Thank you
hmm
for that, Wendy.
oh, you're welcome. Yeah, it jumped right out. The other thing that I wondered if it resonates with you, this has been my experience. Often in life, my passions are around what I wish someone had done or been for me. And I wonder if some of your passion for youth was out of an unmet, at some point, longing earlier than that.
I think so. That tragic story that I hinted at and just
Hmm.
briefly mentioned, I think that there's something there, and I've actually I went into counseling at one point, some therapy to deal with kind of that trauma in my life, because it really was, and it was really still impacted me. And the
Hmm.
reason why I'll explain that a little bit is that I caught myself as being the boy that got blamed for the death of a young person. That I whenever I was given responsibility to work with young people, I was very controlling to make sure nothing would go wrong. And it was
Mm-hmm.
a bit of over control. And so I went a little bit of therapy, just kind of like, what is going on here? Why am I kind of messed up in this area? And without going into a lot of detail, I realized I was trying to meet an expectation in myself to not let that ever happen again to
Yeah.
somebody. And and so one time I heard squealing tires, just years later, and the accident that happened that killed this young boy. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
Preamble to it was there was the squealing tires of a truck, and every time heard that, it triggered something.
Yeah.
Part of that's why I went for the counseling. But in the midst of that counsel, to
Mm-hmm.
get some kind of guidance and some assistance how to navigate those triggers and stuff like that, as I realized that I was actually that inner vow I made that I would never be a priest. God was going to turn that around, and I think a lot of times in our lives is the very thing that we don't think God can do or that we
Mm-hmm.
want God to do is the
Mm-hmm.
very thing that He does as proof of His healing power.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think in our brokenness is our strength. In fact, I think our pain is our platform, and oftentimes in the very things that we experience in life. And I think sometimes, we have empathy for people that go through certain things that we may have experienced
Mm-hmm.
before. If you've gone through a marriage breakup, then you're more empathetic and you have ability to relate and help and minister to people who have also gone through those type of things. And I think that is what happened. I realized how life, there's brevity of life
Mm-hmm.
in that tragedy, but also, how young people, how beautiful they are, how wonderful they are, and just connecting with, I think, God's call on my life to flesh that out. So even today, here I am, senior pastor,
Mm-hmm.
you know, so I'm leading our whole church right now into praying for young families,
Okay.
and that's
Mm-hmm.
part of our goal. Like it's our 2025 goal. We have three main goals for the year in prayer, and that's one of them. That just to draw young people because it's still there. It's still part of the calling of my life.
Mm-hmm.
How God's wired me, how I think. I mean, if you listen to my Spotify playlist, you would not think that a guy my age would be tracking with these
Mm-hmm.
artists.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody and people listen to music go, or I'm driving in the church parking lot. I got to turn it down a bit because I think it's a little too wild for people to
Ah.
hear my music coming out of a car. It's like I don't know what it is. I still feel young at heart.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not skateboarding anymore, and that's a few things have changed, but I still have that
Mm.
yearning to kind of
Mm-hmm.
help those who are younger.
Yeah. That reminds me of a friend had a magnet that said, "How old would you be if you didn't know how old you are?"
Interesting.
And it's a fascinating thing to think about. And it does, I've noticed because I ask myself every, few years, and it does change. It does move up. It's significantly always younger than I am, but I do notice that it does increase. Like,
I heard this just yesterday on, I don't know if it was a movie or some kind of show or whatever. Is that in our mind we still think we're 17. Our bodies are not like I
right. Yeah.
don't
Yeah.
bounce anymore. I bust. There's that's the reality.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
but I regret all the times when I was a kid that I didn't want to have a nap because I love naps now. So I know that I
Yes.
need those things. But
Yes.
I
I
think we
envy
still
children for sure. Uh-huh.
true, and I still think I have grandkids and stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
so I'm definitely aware of my stage and age. But I still feel young in so many ways. Just the
I
approach of life.
agree. I
Hmm.
agree. Yeah, if you kind of remove the things that are informing us on the outside, like as far as just on the inside, how old you would be. Yeah,
Yeah,
and your
interesting.
music speaks to
These are
that.
great questions, Wendy. I don't know if you got these on a big list of questions, but I don't know how you're doing this, but it's fantastic.
Well, no, this is simply when I just listen to curiosity. So that's good, which is what I'm
I
trying
think
to do.
curiosity is one of the greatest gifts. I think that
Mm,
the question I wonder is
mm,
is something that I think if you lose the idea of having a wonder or if you lose curiosity, I don't think you can even live and enjoy life very much. I definitely don't think
mm-hmm,
if you have certainty and not curiosity,
mm-hmm,
I don't think you can even have faith. That's how
mm-hmm.
I feel. I think
I
certainty kind of
agree.
steals faith
Yes.
as opposed to curiosity that always is in awe of God.
Mm-hmm.
wondering. And anyways, I'll leave that right there. I
Yeah,
just
no, and I love that topic because curiosity is something that's been on my radar in a sort of a formal way since learned life coach training way back in 2006, because it's like really at the core of life coaching. Like you just have to be curious, right? And then a few years ago, I don't remember whose book or who I was listening to, their teaching, but they talked about the fact that you can't be curious and judgmental at the same time.
interesting.
And so I thought, oh gosh, in myself and in society in the world right now, we have a lot of judgment, right? We're very judgmental of everyone else. So I thought, yeah, that's pretty yucky. So a quick way out of that is if you can shift into curiosity, and then it's not so harsh.
Yeah,
So I
I
love the idea.
my childhood was marked by a lot of curiosity for
Mm,
sure. Just
hmm
the and I think living on the farm, the apple orchards stuff, all kinds of opportunities for curiosity and creativity.
hmm Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yeah. I know I'd like more of that. And it does kind of make me sad that there's less of that for young people these days overall.
I think they're being robbed in so much of it because I think that there's too much, and this might seem weird. I think there's too much screens and too
Hmm
much entertainment. We had
hmm
to
Yeah.
create our own
Yeah.
fun. We
hmm
created our own opportunities, and it was the curiosity that was there that opened up worlds to
Yeah.
us.
Yeah.
We dreamed of things to do and build and create,
hmm
and the laughter that came with that. And I feel sorry for the younger generation
hmm
and I think there's a lot of that because just society's filled with fear that it's almost like cocooning
hmm
and and all that insular looking kind of worldview. I think that really has harmed this younger generation from expanding, creating all that kind of stuff.
hmm
I agree with you.
Yeah, we need to stop being afraid of boredom. And listen, I'm preaching to myself when I say that. I'm not good with boredom, and I have to remind myself that boredom precedes creativity. Like you just have to be a little bit bored
Absolutely.
to have a to solve the problem of the boredom,
Absolutely.
right? And not just look for that quick fix. So it's something I'm aware of and working on because I have fallen into the trap that the young people have fallen into, right? Like with your phone and screens and so on. So I'm not just, pointing fingers. I'm, pointing it here as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, my phone's right here. I mean, I'm
Yeah.
almost attached to it. My wife could
Yeah.
say that.
We
I would
all need to kind of work on it. So I want to talk about one of the things I want to make sure we get to today, because I think it'll be of interest to people. Um, in my brief time at Bethany, I was very impressed by just the number of sort of ministries and community, not just events, but ways that you serve the community in various capacities. So, can you just give an overview of some of the things that go on there and maybe what your dream is, the impact that you would love to have as a church in the community?
Yeah. So for those who don't know, Bethany is downtown Kitchener. I think the first Protestant church in Kitchener, like it's 148 years old. Like it's been
Amazing.
here a
Hmm
long time. The original building, I think, burnt to the ground. It was a wooden log cabin. I think it burnt down. They rebuilt, and so on the corner of Chapel and Lancaster, downtown Kitchener. So been here a while, close to the downtown core. There was a time where in their history, I wasn't part of it, was that they were thinking of moving out to the suburbs or moving out to larger pieces of land and
hmm
rebuilding. And
Yeah.
the church at that point could have sustained that. But the decision to stay here was probably really, I would think, providential because the city core needs lighthouses, needs places of refuge. We are in the center of the greenest politically community
Okay.
outside of Guelph, so
Okay.
here
hmm
in
hmm
Canada.
Yep.
And so there's that interesting dynamic. So Bethany itself is this really interesting hodgepodge, and I use that in the best of light of all kinds of really different, unique people. So we're not just one homogenous group of people. And I think politically, economically, everybody's all over the map where we are, and yet we find this place of community. And so to define it in a don't use it necessarily as a tag. Bethany Church downtown, have a heart for Kitchener for sure, and the world because we do support great humanitarian work and missions
Mm-hmm.
work around the world.
Mm-hmm.
But we're a community of faith, hope, and love. And it's in 1 Corinthians 13 that the greatest of these is love. But that's where comes out of the chapter 13, the great love chapter of what love really is. And it says faith, hope, and love. And so we are a community of faith without a doubt. So we'll have worship, experiences. We have small group Bible study teachings. There's a lot of different people lead that, and these are organic groups. So it's not like it's top-down hierarchy telling people
Mm.
what to do. It's people
Mm-hmm.
who genuinely want to contribute and be a part of things. And so this is what's the beauty of this organic kind of church culture, church community, is that people that really have a heart for somebody. There's a group that started for young adults. There was no young adults in the church, and then they started. It was like no young adults in this church. And
Mm-hmm.
then they started these young adults that was
Yeah.
on their heart community. And now there's like 20, 30 young adults that meet fairly regularly and connect in this community. Or the youth ministry, and this is bizarre for a church that predominantly have older people. We have, and I'm not the youth pastor anymore, but I'm so stinking thrilled with the youth ministry of this church.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's the best youth ministry in the region, without a doubt. Like fun, we have great facilities. We got an amazing gym. We got a whole youth
Mm-hmm.
center with pool tables and all that stuff. I mean, so that helps.
Mm-hmm.
But two other churches actually bring their young people, their teenagers, to
Mm.
our church youth ministry because they want to partner with us, and I think that's a beautiful thing. So there's a
Yes.
unique, like I said, hodgepodge. So we got kids from Breslau, we got kids from North Waterloo.
Mm-hmm.
Here we are in downtown Kitchener, all creating this community together of young people, and they just went on a retreat, and there's like way up in the Muskokas and stuff
Mm-hmm.
this weekend, and there's like a busload of kids. Like it's really really exciting. So
Mm-hmm.
all these really faith centered endeavors, but we also are creating hope, and I think that's the thing that's really missing in our world today is
Yes.
that
Mm-hmm.
uh, there's a lot of hopelessness. And so there's some outreaches to those. We have a meal ministry that brings food to people who are in difficult situations and crises and things like that. And those ladies are absolutely phenomenal. I remember when my
Mm-hmm.
wife and I went through a bit of a crisis a year ago. She had surgery. We had to go to the States for that and stuff. All these people like just surrounded us with love through food. It was just
Mm-hmm.
so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And then we also have a homeless outreach. Like every other Tuesday, we partner with a St. Jacob's community
Mm-hmm.
church that works with us. They were already down there, but they needed a local downtown church to
Yeah.
connect with. And
Mm-hmm.
we prepare the food here, and we got an amazing team. And these people love on the homeless, and they're not just like feeding people,
Mm-hmm.
like they're creating community
Mm-hmm.
and loving and conversation and valuing people. And they're the people that are there find themselves without kind of housing, like they're in desperate situation, and what they don't need is dissension.
Yes.
They
Yeah.
might need condensation, but I don't know what that means.
Sometimes, but maybe
Spiritual
not heavy
condensation.
rain
I
or.
have no idea, but nonetheless, you know what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm.
But they
Mm.
need a listening ear. They need loving hearts.
Yeah.
These people again genuinely coming out of their own desire to want to help is
Yeah.
beautiful. And to me, like
Mm.
here we are in a community loving our neighbor, and so there's opportunity for hope, and all of these are wrapped up in love. So our faith community, the community of hope that we're trying to create here, but also is wrapped up with the greatest of these, which is a community of faith, hope, and love. But everything's bathed in love. In fact, that's sorry if I'm rambling here, but
No,
the
it's
most
great.
important thing is that when people walk into our church building for the
Mm-hmm.
very first time,
Mm-hmm.
they don't see a slogan of our mission statement. They don't see picture of the pastor. Some churches do. They don't have these kind of weird kind of art things that
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we have a huge Bible verse that says they'll know we are Christians by our love. The greatest commandment is to love as I have loved you. And people are like, I won't name the politician. We had a politician who came in here and he goes, "What is that?" And it's like, I wasn't sure exactly what he was referring, but he
Yeah.
was just captivated by this. Like, it's huge. You've seen it, right, Wendy? This great, big, all it is a verse in the Bible about loving others well. And it captured his heart. In fact, so much so that after our little visit, he wanted a selfie with, had somebody actually take the
Oh.
photo of him and I with that scripture verse behind him. And
Yeah.
I'm not sure if he professes faith or not, or he does. It's not
Yeah. But
my
it certainly
calling. But
resonated.
it did, and so I think that's what we've been trying to do since March of 2020 is build this community of faith.
Oh, beautiful. Uh, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but this will probably put you on the spot. Any sort of stories that come out of, sharing these different ways that you serve the community and the people? Any stories that come to mind through this?
Well, I mean, so besides what I've already kind of referenced, there is also this unique thing. Before I came, Bethany became a host for a refugee family. And so from Afghanistan, more than one family, to be honest, but the second family, the Galjays, I can mention that publicly. They're part of our community. They're still learning English, and all that sponsorship stuff was amazing. How that all happened, but out of that, there is and I'm not going to say underground church because it's completely public, but there's this under the radar, it's a better way to put it,
Okay.
church where we're reaching into the Muslim community, mostly from Syria and Afghanistan, and the the appointed pastor from this is part of that family that came here. And so Ahmad, beautiful soul, we gave him a studio in the basement here of our building, and he broadcasts into Afghanistan live once a week
Wow. Okay.
in preaching the gospel, and they're seeing so many people come to faith in Jesus through this internet, satellite internet kind of way to do it. And
Yeah.
we're so thrilled to host that here, provide that as part of our mission, to be honest with you. And out of that, they have translated the Bible for the first time ever into the Pushtun language. There's been no written Bible
Really?
in that language. Yeah, so this is a great story. I love the story. I love
Yeah.
telling
I
people.
didn't know there would be a language left. I really didn't.
Yeah, no, there
Yeah.
still are actually. When
Okay.
there's
I didn't
still a
know that.
number. Oh yeah, yeah. So this is one of them. So it's a unique. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't know how many millions of people that this is the only language that they speak and read, but primarily in Afghanistan, and I think in Syria. I could be wrong, but the Pushtun language. And so it came out with just one gospel, and now the whole New Testament has been translated, and scholars approved. Like, it's gone through all the thing. And here's just this family that we brought over from Afghanistan, refugee
Amazing.
family, and then out of this Bible translation is part of what they've been able to. And we feel so thrilled to be able to host and to bless that. And there's a couple other churches in the Kitchener area that have funded. Great church in Waterloo that has helped fund the costs for the publishing and the printing of these books. It's been a community-wide endeavor, but that is a great story, and I
Oh,
love
yeah.
that.
I love that.
I have one here where I got some right here. I can't see if I can find it right now off the top of my head. But anyways, I got one of the copies of those Bibles here. I can't see it.
Yeah, that's very cool. Very, very cool. Do you know what I love about that? I love story like the ripple effect. And I remember back when I worked for a few years with a humanitarian organization, Possibilities International. Um, One of the things that we always tried to do is help people who were helping people. So, pour into them so that they're already doing it. They were already helping people in very real practical ways,
Yeah.
and just coming alongside and helping them so that they can continue to help and help even more. And I just love that. And so I love the idea that, yeah, you help this family, but then, yeah, this ripple effect, it
Isn't
doesn't
that
just
great?
stop then, right? It just,
Yeah.
you can just see that it just would keep going and going and going. Love that. Yeah.
Yeah. So it is thrilling to see that come together. Yeah, you're right. It's beautiful.
Yeah, amazing. Okay, so what is next? What sort of I guess you've talked a little bit about, Bethany this year and whatnot. What's next for Anthony?
Um, wow. I can't really go into details of some of the things that have been kind of like really exciting me and stirring me because there's still a bit of work before that kind of walks itself out. But I'm in the process of writing my next book. I'm probably not going to go with an American publisher, big publisher. It wasn't the best experience for me. Yeah, and there's a whole bunch of reasons for that, but nonetheless, I was thrilled that it was released to the world that way. And I think I'm going to probably I think I will self publish my next book. Strangely enough, even though I had a publishing contract beforehand, it just I think I'll have more control of how it gets distributed and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about that. And part of what's happening is so if I'm on Facebook and I'm kind of teasing out things, not every day, but there's a bunch of stuff that I write and put it out there and see what resonates, what needs to be fixed. So I'm teasing some of that out. So I'm approaching it differently. So it's not like I'm having all this work and then publishing it. I'm actually pre-publishing,
Hmm.
seeing what resonates, and then
Mm.
repackaging it into
Mm-hmm.
a book
Mm-hmm.
actually on hope. And so the first
Mm-hmm.
book was more
Very
about
timely.
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the first book called Blurry Daydream was when faith feels like make believe. Because there's so many people pretending that they don't really know what real faith is. And that's what that whole book was all about, was kind of dismantling um, the, not the argument, but the people's misconceptions on what real faith is. And predominantly young people who used to be in faith church circles who've walked away. um, there's a lot of huge deconstruction, a lot of people walking away from faith, and I wanted to write a love letter to that generation that I used to be a youth pastor for, and it's almost
Mm-hmm.
like a second call back,
Yeah.
like to say, hey, check out Jesus one more time. The second book is a little bit more hopeful, and it's kind of to build off the first, and it certainly lifts. It's going to lift people. It's very encouraging, and it's going to have mostly my funny story. My first book had a lot of my tragic stories of overcoming. This book is going to be more of the crazy fun stories of my childhood, and um, I don't share those yet because those stories I
Ah,
want them to be
okay. You want them to
surprises.
be fresh.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they will
Yeah.
be fresh. I mean, I've
Yeah.
hinted at a few of them here and
Mm-hmm.
there if you ever heard me speak on a Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
but these are the I can't say comedy, but they are the funny stories that will probably flesh out in a comedic way in the book. So I'm looking forward to
Right.
that
Oh,
personally.
yeah. Yeah. That's very, very exciting. Okay. Before we move into just some fun rapid fire questions, is there anything that we haven't touched on that you want to talk about or share today?
Well, I think that I kind of just briefly there just hinted about the fact that I think a lot of people have misconceptions about um, what real faith is. And I think part of that is because of their maybe they've had previous church experiences that were pretty negative or pretty harsh or judgmental, or they didn't, you know, they, they weren't really given a chance to explore who Jesus was. Now, there's other things that are going out there
Hmm.
for sure, like there's incredible programs that introduce Christ in a great way. There's a lot of programs that are good. So I'm not saying a lot of it, but I think a lot of people have had some really bad experiences.
Hmm.
Um, and I just want to encourage people to kind of like reconsider because I'll say this, we're three-part being. We're spirit, soul, and body. People say, we're just two parts, we're body and soul. And that, I get that. But there is a real spiritual life to a component to us. And I say it this way: we are a spirit, we have a soul, mind, will, and emotions, and we live in this body, and they're all connected. And so sometimes people who might feel like it's just about their body, I get it. Some people might acknowledge that they've got emotions and soul, and so they get that. But we are this threefold cord that's not easily broken. You can't separate. And when one area is not doing well, if our mental health or emotions are not well, it affects our body.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that people neglect the fact that, or reject the fact, maybe not neglect it, but even reject it, that our spiritual life is important. And it really is. Because you can't separate that from you. You are, that's who you are. In fact, your
Mm-hmm.
spirit is your real core of who you are. And what you don't want to do is ignore that, the true reality of yourself. And because I'm a pastor, I believe that one day when we die, we'll go to heaven. Our spirit and soul, our body's going to stay, but our spirit and soul go to heaven if we understand Christ and we understand His love for us and we respond to that love. Um, we want to be in heaven. We want to go there. And so Jesus said, I am the way to heaven. Nobody goes to the Father but through me. So I always want to encourage people, don't neglect and
Mm-hmm.
definitely don't reject
Mm-hmm.
your spiritual side of you,
Mm-hmm.
because it's who you are, whether you believe it or not.
Yeah. So consider or reconsider is what I'm
Absolutely.
hearing from you. Yeah.
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 Yeah. Wonderful. Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Um, okay, this is going to feel like an abrupt shift now into the
Sure.
rapid fire, but
I'm ready.
that's all right. That's all right. Okay. Morning person or night owl?
Whew, it it depends on the day. Like
Okay.
I'm like
Okay.
sometimes wide awake in the morning and have no
Mm-hmm.
idea, and then sometimes I'm like late at night. But I don't know. The older I get, the more I'm thinking 9 o'clock is an awesome bedtime.
Okay. So it's shifting a little bit. Gotcha. Yep. If you could teleport anywhere right now, where would you go?
You don't even have to. I don't even have to think about that. Give me the Caribbean, like right now, and I'll
Mm-hmm.
sit on a white
Mm.
sandy beach.
Okay. Sounds great. I think a lot of people would join you. Yep. What's a book, podcast, or movie you'd recommend?
Haven't watched it yet, but I heard Conclave is phenomenal. So we're gonna watch that on Prime, I believe it is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, well, we've watched a lot of movies. My wife used to be an actress, and so she's
I did not know that.
you didn't know that?
No.
Oh yeah, no, she used to be she's an actor member still.
Mm-hmm.
She used to be in Toronto in the Toronto acting scene,
Yeah.
and so that's when I met her. She was a model and actress. She loves movies like we love watching movies. So that
Me
I'll be
too.
honest with you, hundreds of movies we love and thousands of movies we hate. So like she's got such a high standard of quality movies. So like, there's so many. But actually, I'll tell you this real quick story. As I know it's rapid fire, but
Yeah.
one time we were watching a movie and Sonia goes, I think we've seen this movie before. I go, no, we haven't seen this movie before.
Mm-hmm.
And she goes, no, we've seen this movie before. And next scene is there she is in the scene. It was a movie that
No.
she had been filmed. And then she goes, no, we haven't seen it. I'm in it. And it was so funny.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
And
it
she
was.
didn't remember, up until that point, she hadn't remembered.
She didn't know she was, because when
Oh,
you're
that's
acting,
great.
you don't actually always know
Sure.
what movie
No,
you're in.
that's true. No, no,
You're
no. It
filming,
makes,
it's a
yeah.
day, it's one scene, maybe in a movie, but
Yes, yes. And I have been well into movies before and gone, I know where this story is going. I have seen this before. Wow. It happens to everybody. What's a hidden talent or skill that most people don't know that you possess?
hidden talent or skill. I'm great at air guitar, but I wanted to be a rock star too. That was the other thing
Did
when I was a kid.
you? Yeah.
Yeah, but I don't. I have a crappy voice. I can't sing. In fact, I one time I videotaped a concert and I'm singing along. I ruined the tape because in the background there's my voice drowning out the amazing singer. It was like, well, that was a dumb idea. I
Mm-hmm.
I wish I was a rock star, but
Yeah.
probably
It,
good because it'd go to my head. I wish
right.
I could
All
sing
of
as good as
us.
Kevin. Honestly, I wish I could sing as good
Right.
as
I
Kevin.
know. Yeah. He's a rock star. There you go. If you weren't in your current profession, what's a job you'd love to try?
What I think I would be good at is marketing. I
Hmm.
don't know if I would enjoy it. Like
Okay.
I
Hmm.
think I could. Like I think I could make some amazing commercials.
Mm.
Honestly, so many
Mm-hmm.
commercials are boring and dumb.
Mm-hmm.
I hate all the music commercials, those ones that everybody's singing. Those are annoying. But I think I could. That'd be something I could do.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
and maybe I would be a long haul truck driver. I don't know why, but I think I could be good at that. Isn't that weird?
Yeah. Yeah. And so why? What is there something you do during the drives? Like would you listen to music? Would you what do you want the
100%
time for? Yeah.
music.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mm.
that would be great.
Yeah. Yeah. Just all
I
that
don't know.
time. Yeah. Hey, it just says you can try. Doesn't mean you have to like it. You don't have to stick to it. You just could try it.
I see.
Yeah.
I drove dump truck for a little while too. I forgot to mention that, and I kind of really enjoyed
Mm.
that in construction for a bit. So it's like,
Mm.
yeah, maybe I
Mm-hmm.
could do that for a living. Probably not.
Mm-hmm.
I think I would get pretty bored pretty quick.
Yeah. But fun to try. And finally, what's a motto or mantra you live by?
Oof. On my tombstone,
Mm-hmm.
how's that? You
Mm-hmm.
know, the most important thing on a person's tombstone,
Mm-hmm.
not the day they were born or the day they died, but the dash in between, how you live your life. And I think live the dash well.
Mm. Well, that's
And
really good.
yeah, and I think that's probably, I wouldn't necessarily, you know, write that out specifically like
Mm-hmm.
that, but I think that's it. And maybe on my tombstone, it's a bit of a joke. I think I would like it to say he tried.
That's great. We should all get to, pre-decide. Yeah, what goes on them. That's amazing. Finally, where can people find information about the church? Where can people find information or get in touch with you?
So church, just Google Bethany Church, but website is www.bethanykw.ca,
Okay.
and then you can find all the links to connect with us there and where to find us. Come on a Sunday, 10 o'clock every Sunday.
Hmm.
You're more than welcome. You will feel welcomed for sure and loved.
I can attest to that. It's a very warm group of people.
Yeah, without a
Yeah.
doubt. People are disarmed by it. They're kind of shocked by it.
Yeah.
It's like this feels too. This
They're just
feels
so nice.
yeah. They're way too nice. I got that compliment. I think it's a compliment.
Mm. Yeah, it's
Too nice.
great. Yeah.
I have a anthonydose.com is website for my book. But if you follow me on Facebook,
You're very active on social media.
yeah, I'm
Yeah.
I'm on
Hmm.
Facebook a lot. Just to, I think a lot of people connect with me. I think Jesus will be on Facebook. I'll be honest with you. And so I'm on Facebook. I'm on Twitter X, but that's the weird me. So
Okay.
I will
Okay.
warn you, it's not my Facebook self. It's my
Okay.
Twitter.
Different side of you. Hey, isn't it a different side of most people, right? A
Yeah,
different
and I'm on
platform.
Instagram, but
Yeah.
it's a private account. It's only for like my family. So
Gotcha. So people can't find you there.
yeah,
Well, Anthony, oh my goodness. I was excited to have this conversation with you. I've known you a little bit, but certainly I've learned a lot today. And I know that, people will really, really enjoy getting to know you a little bit better as well and hear about your heart, um, and the heart of Bethany and the difference that you're making in the community, because I think
I
it's
appreciate the
significant.
invitation. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
Okay.
for inviting me into your world, and look forward to seeing what else you produce out
Yeah.
there, and I'll follow you along and encourage those who are out there. Just Wendy's got some stuff. She's got some good stuff happening. So
Thank you.
thank you, Wendy.
Thank you. We'll talk soon.
Okay.